Hello， 大家 testing。我呢個唔使，我用你嗰個。我把聲細。Hello， 大家好。今日我哋係一個簡單嘅新書發布 sharing 討論啦，錢志健先生嘅《對沖人生路》。咁喺一本書出版嘅時候啦，咁而家喺大家台灣啦，咁啊錢先生係喺台灣，咁但係本身而家佢長期 base 喺加拿大啦。咁我哋今次嘅對談也好啦，訪問也好啦，即係 casual 分享都好啦。其實我諗由呢本書講起之前咧，都想講翻一個好特別嘅 background， 就係香港金融界人士喺呢幾年嘅反應啦。咁啊雖然個名叫對沖，但係人生嘅重點嚟。不如請你同我哋分享一下，其實你離開香港之後呢幾年大概生活你嘅 reflections 啦，同埋過呢幾年而家有冇啲咩改變？
唔該晒 Simon。咁上次見面都係上年4月啦，到依家已經去到1月中。改變梗係好大嘅，因為好多人係因為港版國安法之下就離開咗香港。咁我都係啦。咁我係好急嘅，即係講緊之前喺2021年6月24號就係《蘋果日報》最後一期啦。咁26號咧就我嘅英文版總編輯盧峰先生咧就喺機場咧就逮捕。咁之後本來我係諗住7月中去加東嘅探親，結果都係話唔係，就28號我就離開咗。咁到依家講緊係已經係2年半冇喺香港。咁當然啦，即係台灣離開香港係好近啦。咁再見到即係阿 Simon 尋日喺黎智英先生嘅呢一個國安案件當中咧，其實講緊張劍虹係俾緊口供啦，即係講緊係一個叫做 quote unquote 叫做污點證人樣嘅角色。
佢叫重返證人，官方嘅叫
重返證人。咁就講究竟有啲咩事發生，咁就講緊想訪問林文基去谷大啲遊行嗰啲嘢。咁即係長話短説，我哋唔認識即係香港會係變到好似咁樣嘅地步，即係嗰個一國兩制。即係我都仲係要做一個一國兩制嘅永遠支持者，因為可能你都問過我喺之前話，喂，你仲信唔信有一國兩制？咁但係當你繼續有啲金融人又好，其他人又好拉咗嘅時候，去幫佢做保釋嗰啲，你唔可能係一個叫港獨分子去做保釋㗎咪？咁變咗就係硬要做一個真係揞住個良心嘅一國兩制支持者。咁其實好悲嘅呢樣嘢講，因為一國兩制嘅下半場依家係冇咗。你問邊個都係咁喺呢一個即係咁嘅政治氣候之下，我相信走嘅人係越嚟越多啦。咁亦都講緊呢本書係我第11本書啦。如果香港係正常嘅，唔需要係喺台灣出啦。咁亦都係我同李生都傾過點樣出發啊。咁最後就用咗依家呢個出版社嘅形式，咁就係有一半係英文啦，一半係中文，因為我哋會講少少英文，講完中文課個直播，同埋之後你嘅即係精裝製作之後，咁我哋就咁樣出咯，即係嗰個今日個叫發佈會。
因為你講到蘋果嘅 case 咧，譬如盧峰，其實有一段都比較長嘅時間同佢有近乎 weekly 嘅合作，因為嗰時喺信報有一個 顧問嘅 role 啦。咁我哋每個星期有一版特別嘅即係國際嘅議題咁同佢一齊咯。咁一直就唔覺得佢有任何可能可以去到而家呢一個咁樣嘅待遇。咁當去機場地區我哋嗰圈子好震撼，即係我唔係講緊金融界，講緊國際關係學界。咁所以其實嗰個國安法都真係無遠不屆嘅，即係你覺得其實好遙遠嘅朋友，可能突然之間就覺得原來好 close。咁而家去到呢個 situation 咧，我哋回應翻呢一本書個主題嘅。喺金融界咧，以前覺得就算香港點都好啦，都仲係一個即係譬如 family office 好多人喺香港嘅，咁有好多hedge fund 仲喺香港嘅。但係而家譬如當你離開咗啦，就算你超然於政治咁講啦，你 advise 你嘅 clients 整個 centre 整個 office 咁，係咪而家都唔會再考慮香
港？啱啱就係有朋友落機喺香港過嚟台北，就晏少少就同佢哋傾，即係佢哋講緊嗱嗰啲叫做ultra high net worth 嗰啲咧，就基本上有晒 private bank。咁但係你話個 mass affluent， 即係講緊可能係有1-2千萬港幣嗰啲咧，佢都諗緊嗱，當然你依家去賣個屋已經係跌咗30%，咁但係佢都會諗，喂，隨時咁容易，即係都會因為港版國安法，唔知點解國安警署拉咗你，收咗你護照，咁佢哋即係人就係會去 offshore 就喺新加坡或者其他啲地方先嘅，咁就即係最後依家諗一諗，究竟即係呢一個所謂嘅依家香港係仲係住得安唔安全咧？咁答翻你頭先個問題，個 family office 嘅定義，我哋講緊就50球美金啦，就4億港紙啦，就真係個 family office 都做到一啲嘢嘅。咁如果你話 mass affluent 嗰啲，咪講緊1-2千萬嘅都走。係咪擺喺新加坡咧？又係即係有好多會係咁樣做。其實你話50球美金可以做到啲咩咧？你可以 set up 咗一個 hedge fund 即係基本上你唔使蝕錢，因為你會有 admin cost 其他啲嘢。咁其他嘅普通人視乎即係佢嘅年紀啦。咁如果你話人生去到下半場最後 running the race， 當佢依家剩翻25年命，咁睇下邊度地方住啦。咁你有1-2千萬港幣已經好好使，我相信。咁去到直至到佢翻總部為止啦。即係每個人嗰個情況唔同，投資目的、風險程度、年齡唔同。咁但係諗嘅嘢就係話香港究竟佢仲住唔住得開心？究竟即係嗰個舊時可能你依家有嗰啲你去過嗰啲小店或者老店，你覺得5年之後係咪都已經執咗笠咧？即係你剩翻嘅嘢係咩咧？得翻個獅子山，即係獅子山精神係咩咧？去香港食嘢定係依家話去廟街搞翻旺佢食魚蛋豬皮？即係呢啲唔係我諗嘅，即係香港精神，或者係廟街救中環，即係都幾滑稽啦。
講到同錢銀有關嘅 issues 啦，都回翻一本書另外啲嘅細節啦。近排一個 case 咧，我自己覺得都好震撼，即係其實每一個 case 都好震撼嘅講法之後，但係佢震撼程度係每一個都唔同，即係佢擺到平常心有啲案例啦。啱嗰個 case 係正生書，即係基督教正生會，跟住佢有間學校就正生書。正生係即係戒毒，幫啲年青人一啲過好耐㗎啦。咁但係佢而家官方突然之間個高調咁樣拉人通緝性，咁就係話啲錢銀問題。所謂錢銀問題就係話，如果你香港籌款用喺國內咧都係唔得嘅。咁我就好好奇啦，喂，如果呢條線係 work 嘅話，咁希望工程啊，或者呢啲助養非洲貧民啊，即係呢啲係咪全部都唔得咧？咁如果係咁，係咪都會影響成個香港咁多年嚟對現金流嗰個理解？
佢依家即係嗱，即係正生書院啦，個校長依家喺英國係咪？咁通緝緊，咁但係我就唔係好方便去即係去 comment， 因為佢冇好似即係你話嗱，蘋果日報嗰個就好震撼，但係係咪一個即係真係 money laundering 嘅嘢咧？但係真係好視乎。真係依家究竟點樣去睇？即係乜嘢係being defined as money laundering？ 因為對於我嚟講，香港不嬲係一個排洪基地嚟。即係如果你話內地啲錢經香港再走資，有好多種方法。你見到即係上環有咁多嗰啲所謂嘅 外幣找換點，其實就係做緊嗰樣咁嘅嘢。咁啊，跟住去到溫哥華又有啲找換店出現咗，咁你有個好大嘅即係 haircut，咁啲錢就可以喺落咗嚟，即係亦都可以係數人頭咁樣去將啲錢揾過嚟香港。咁但係對於即係依家，我反而覺得就係個中產喺香港而家講緊話，即係反修例運動到而家就有50幾萬人啦嚇，呢幾年裏邊，咁會唔會即係更加多咧？我覺得 Simon 可能去到2047剩翻嗰22年，可能香港1/3嘅人口係走，即係都係因為由於就係你覺得個信心同埋人心係都係唔同。
其實人走幾多係一個好難去科學定義嘅，根據而家即係官方嘅數字啦，民間推算啦，學術上嘅 prediction 個差距都幾大。即係我諗我相信唔止50幾萬，個下限都起碼780萬。咁有啲朋友就推算到200萬，唔係112，110至120K 咁樣。咁其實點解會有咁唔同？應該係100萬至110萬至120萬咁上下，即係最上限有咁樣嘅推算。咁點解會有唔同嘅數字咧？就係會譬如話已經有居留權有，佢以前已經有啦，咁佢而家翻去，或者佢係第二代，或者加拿大居留權係第二代咁點解咧？或者佢入去到去 BNO 已經可能1/4嘅，咁有啲投資移民啊就唔攤入邊啊，啲學生讀書又留低，即係有好多唔同嘅計法。但係我諗個重點就係話，而家我哋見到嗰個中產朋友對錢嘅即係叫理解咧，同以前係幾唔同嘅。即係以前我覺得係好方便㗎嘛，唔會想像突然之間銀行有個 transaction 會 block 嘅，亦都唔會想像啊原來唔單止係 block， 可能有啲法律嘅風險嘅。咁所以當佢到如果有現金流規管係比以前即係所謂嚴格咗好多啦，咁無論佢係政治原因係咩都好啦。咁我相信對好多中產朋友佢就會好即係佢會將就算人走都好啦，錢先走先。咁而呢個咁樣嘅趨勢咧，其實特別係所謂即係藍絲係更加普遍，因為佢哋係即係更加錢走唔走到呢個風險。所以我識唔少嗰啲即係叫廣義藍營啦，其實你而家都好難咁定義嘅。佢哋無論口裏邊講咩都真係會走咗錢。
佢嗱即係講緊2019年佢反送中開始，我到依家都4年幾啦。我就話最穩陣嘅嘢咧就係咧，你當你有1億港幣身家5至7%你擺喺香港好，即係計埋不動產所有嘢，即係話你有1億啲錢就喺海外，5至700萬咧，當你搣好租好，咁而家啲物業都跌咗好多啦，即係要咁樣。咁我亦都即係識得有啲係做餐廳係做飲食業嘅咧，人已經不在香港，咁佢點做咧？佢嗰個即係所謂嘅 business account 咧，永遠都係咧10萬蚊港幣以下。出糧咧先至咧花人啲錢得翻香港，咁樣做法咧，即係佢係有一個好大嘅隱憂，就係香港唔知佢想點，因為你見到即係許智峰事件啦，咁之後亦都有啲網媒佢係個 business account 係運作唔到，或者都係要再多一個 confirmation 打去俾佢個理財嘅個 account manager，然後再要 reconfirm 個 transaction 先可以出到，咁就唔係變咗係電子嘅交易啦，變咗係你要人手 reconfirm，咁呢樣嘢好恐怖。
所以好多朋友都會喺呢個時勢啦，點都會有個開戶口，即係都係旁身都好啦。我哋以前冇諗咁複雜㗎嘛，即係我哋以前開戶口，因為可能讀過書做過嘢，咁冇 close 跟住就一直 keep 到。但係而家好多朋友佢都係會專登開，有時會專登飛過去開啦，有時就以前仲可以嗰個person manager， 咁而家我唔知仲香港有冇呢個 service， 但起碼嗰個大趨勢就係咁樣。如果用晒香港嚟俾錢咧，永遠都有好多唔可控嘅風險啦，即係譬如話想買你本書咁樣。咁係唔係會用一個開戶口買咧？咁香港朋友就開始會諗呢
本書係冇乜嘢嘅 The Path to True Freedom， 但係即係如果你話邊個寫個 practice 個罪咁就都冇乜嘢嘅，即係嗱中文有你啦，
寫個罪啫喎，寫個罪。咁 Mark 都冇，咁佢又冇通緝。
係 Benedict Rogers 入唔到境咁解。
因為你用翻呢把尺，即係我覺得本書香港賣到嘅，咁我唔知啦。但係即係譬如有啲朋友，如果佢俾香港政府而家即係嚇過啲方寸大亂嘅，咁可能佢真係會覺得用個海戶口嚟買係咪穩陣啲咧？即係呢個咁嘅諗法，我諗會越嚟越多人會用呢個方向去思考。
我諗本書就冇乜嘢嘅，即係如果你話 我哋講嘅嘢就係話一國兩制，依家你冇啊嘛，你話鄧小平1.0嘅模式你冇，你整咗個假嘢。咁上次喺你個節目我都講話，我最唔中意就係見到而家$10喺 Canal Street 買2隻 Rolex 冇可能啊嘛。咁佢而家就係俾啲咁嘅嘢你睇 ，versus 你係用一個真正嘅價錢去買一啲真正嘅，咁冇咗，咁咪繼續我諗我哋即係喺海外，無論你做講緊自媒體好，或者係聲音或者係 YouTube 咁都好啦，真係要講嗰個事實嘅真相，同香港依家嗰種叫做擦鞋啊，或者係越左係越覺得係自我感覺良好啊嗰啲，即係一個好大嘅抗衡嚟嘅。
所以我覺得香港應該賣到嘅，即係你如果係三中商賣到，都係淨係一國兩制嘅存在。咁
三中商唔知入唔入到？
但係咁我哋網上有嘅，開頭都有嘅。咁入邊本書另外有個部分啦，因為今日都有西藏朋友喺度啦，咁我哋可以特別講少少你同西藏嘅淵源啦。呢一 part 我哋都要用翻英文。
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for my Tibetan friends who come here today for this broadcast. Well, half of the book it's actually written in English for the diaspora community, for those who care about Hong Kong, Tibet, and those who fight for freedoms. And the traditional Chinese part is for Hong Kong readers and well, anyone who read traditional Chinese. My connection with Tibet is very simple. I was introduced on the Tibetan story about what happened to Tibet, the 17-point treaty that was signed in 1951, which is quite similar to the Joint Declaration. At that time, there seems to be promise that other than diplomacy and military, they would not really interfere with the Tibetan way of life. And then in 1959, after a few years, the Chinese Communist Party took control of China. They invaded Tibet, and then the Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, had to flee Tibet. And then now, His Holiness, it's living in Dharamsala in India. And what really strikes me is that there is a lot of similarity between what Hong Kongers are facing now and what happened 60 some odd years ago in Tibet. So I'm kind of afraid that also, Simon, the friends that we know, those who are alleged to be in violation of the NSL, the National Security Law, they will be confined, they will be detained, they will be in prison for quite long time. But I learned a lot from Tibet, and the path to true freedom. It's about Hong Kong, those who fight for democracy, about other places, especially Tibet, because they are very persistent. Think about it, like for more than 60 some odd years, they haven't given up hope, and hope is important for this long fight. And Hong Kong, this dismantling process has been going on for around 4 years only, and they know how to fight the long game. For us, this is just quite the beginning, and so that's why I seek advice from a lot of my Tibetan friends for what I do, not hedge fund trading, but on the fight for freedom.
Actually, I did visit Dharamsala like 15 years ago and had an interview with the Holiness Dalai Lama. Because as international relations scholars, I do think it is a very stimulating comparison between Hong Kong and Tibet regarding the so-called one country, two system arrangements. So maybe we can talk a little bit about the comparison. How do you think about the similarities and the differences, especially regarding the tragic ending of if we can call it ending, or de facto ending of the arrangements?
Yeah. Now, for Tibet, of course, His Holiness had to flee Tibet, and then what happened afterwards? It's the monasteries. 99.999% it's destroyed. The language also, they are not encouraged to use the Tibetan language. So when I visited Dharamsala just this past June, I saw there are schools that teach the Tibetan monks to excel in their language, and also the genocide that happened 60 some odd years ago. It's you're talking about 1.2 million people were persecuted, got killed, and then there were some Tibetan monks who had self-immolation to express their discontent. Whereas for Hong Kong now, our friends who are in prison, for them, we still believe in the so-called rule of law. Those who are in prison, do they really believe in this so-called kangaroo court and also the basic law? And then it's questionable. But for instance, people like Jimmy Lai, Benny Tai, that you and I know very well, and also Joshua Wong, they will be punished to the maximum. And I'm quite concerned that they will be used as like a model for the Hong Kong NSL cases. So it's like maximum fine, maximum punishment. But Tibet now, it's whether His Holiness the Dalai Lama can revisit the Hotel Palace again. That's not an issue, but I think the bigger thing is for the Tibetan story that I learned from it's the consistency and the spirit of never giving up hope. That's more important from a more philosophical and spiritual level. And do we reminisce about like going back to Hong Kong to go to Cha Chan Teng and Choi Wai and all that? Those who have decided to leave, at least for now, I think they should move on instead of think about where to eat and all that, but and then continue with their way of life.
Do you think the excuse that Beijing used to terminate Tibet's one country two system, the so-called autonomous arrangement, can be compared with that in 2019, in 2001, the NSL is implemented in Hong Kong? Because it seems that there's a certain pattern of PRC that they won't tolerate any regional differences anyway, but they do need some kind of skills to implement a centralized model of governance like right now. So how do you see the comparison?
Well, of course, back in 1951, when they signed the 17-point treaty, they promised a lot of things, but then they just kicked everyone out. And then now Hong Kong is ruled by the so-called patriots. Take a look at our legislature. It's all people who are pro-Beijing, and there is no democratic voice. But for what happened 60 some odd years ago is more severe. That means complete kick out of those who are running Tibet, and meaning the Holiness the Dalai Lama. And then they have to re-establish up in India, re-establish it. And then the good thing is the international community stepped in and helped the Tibetans. And talk about those who are living outside of Tibet now. There's around 100,000, I think, Tibetans living outside of Tibet. Most of them are in Flushing, New York, and also in Toronto, near the Parkdale region. That's some of the bigger populations, and in Europe, Australia. But then when you see protests on the streets, you always see them get very loud, and because they have a strategy to let people know that the Tibetan story is not extinguished. The Tibetan story is alive. And then what we can learn from them is that now Hong Kong is suppressed to the maximum, especially those Hong Kongers who live in Hong Kong. due to the enactment of the national security law, they cannot speak up, then it has to rely on us, those who do media, social media, and with Article 23 coming up to be implemented in a few months, what we do now in the social media will be even tougher. But then, learn how to demonstrate and speak very loud, just like what the Tibetan community has done. It's something we should look upon and use as reference.
Maybe let's see whether we have any questions from our friends, from our Tibetan friends. Any questions for Ed?
Actually, no. I would like to coincide the situation, what happened in Tibet, and later this last 3-4 years, what happened inside Hong Kong. It really coincides the incidents of two states. I can see this in Tibet and Hong Kong. As this Mr. Edward had mentioned, that there are so many similarities in the background of incidents. But even though there are so many similarities, but I would like to stress that the Tibetan case has this more evidently, as you said, there's 99.9% of Tibetan people still resides inside Tibet. And only this, actually through this recent research, it has come out to be 97.5% of Tibetans still reside inside Tibet, and 2.5% is considered as the diaspora, exact Tibetans. The main thing is that we didn't left our country only because of this. We have been deprived of human rights policies. The thing is that our country has been rolling anger by the brutal occupation of China. So this has been when you go inside, the incidents happened inside Tibet almost 7 decades ago. And right now for the last 3 or 4 years, what happened inside Hong Kong. And when you see when you compare the two pictures, isn't it? It really finds some similarities. But really if you go deeper, the inside story has been totally different. As icing on the cake, as Mr. Edward has said, almost 99% of Tibetan culture, including Tibetan, more than 6,000 Tibetan traditional monasteries has been destroyed. So from the last 3-4 years incidents with relation to this national security law, which has been applied in Hong Kong, isn't it? So from that, we can recall what might have happened inside Tibet for the past 6 decades, and this very thing which we have been appealing to the free world for the last more than 6 decades. So at the time, we had been put a blind eye and deaf ear for our situation, isn't it? But right now, through Hong Kong incident, the world starts to realize what we have been saying for the last 4 decades are true, and not only true. And with the recent Cold War between the United States and China, and at the same time trade war, and it more led the Western countries to be more aware. Not only is the economic leverage is important, but at the same time human rights and everything does count. So right now we have been seeing the situation that through your book, it will give more a clearer picture of human rights over economic and all these things.
I guess for this book, especially the English side of it, when I go back to America, the key thing, I just talked to University of Toronto inside one of the Asian libraries. They will have a few copies of it, but the key thing is this could be used more like it's a springboard to go to the different NGOs or those who care about the Hong Kong situation, and then bring the cases of those who are detained due to the enactment of the NSL, because the trial is still ongoing, and then the verdict of the 47 Hong Kongers who participated in the primary of the legislature the sentence will be handed down very soon, right, Simon? Actually, yeah.
Because I think the comparison has a lot of implications to the other cases as well, including here in Taiwan, when during the election there always discussion about what's the likely scenario as a reunification, so-called, and of course the fate of Hong Kong and also Tibet is a very good example to forecast the possible future if that's after someone's choosing. And finally, I think
可以講翻。
So we get better candidates first, and then after finishing the talk, we can talk further. 最後我哋譬如 summarize 呢一本書係呢個時代嘅價值啦，即係你個封面就係自由價更高。其實你離開咗香港，有好多朋友都想問你啲問題，即係我自己通常我都唔係點識答，即係你覺得有幾多代價離開咗香港之後，即係你 pay the price 去咧，即係喺生活喺一個自由世界嗰度生活，你覺得你付出咗幾多代價？
呢幾年係個代價係大嘅，即係我嘅。講緊個人亦都變化好大，即係我諗你嘅個人亦都變化好大咯，好多嘢係咪？咁但係係唔係好似好似西藏59年咁尊者達賴喇嘛離開咗之後，佢冇翻過去Tibet 係咪？即係冇翻過去西藏，咁就走咗。咁但係即係我有時咁諗嘅，即係 Simon。嗱，你同我都係3星香港身份證係咪？咁但係而家搞埋呢啲古靈精怪嘢，講緊香港啲超級富豪想飛去日本食個 omakase 自選餐，日本餐都好似唔得，有啲出唔到境咁，唔知真定假咁，但係就疑神疑鬼啦。有啲即係有啲政圈嘅朋友，你同我又係識嘅。喂 ，Facebook 度都已經即係個 Covid 冇咗年幾啦，佢仲係講緊行山花花草草，冇可能嘅。即係我識嗰啲好朋友係1年都去幾次出去嘅，走唔到。咁但係佢冇話拉佢，但係個情況就係咁樣。咁即係香港係變咗啲咩嘢咧？咁即係嗱，建制嘅你識得唔少啦，我都因為金融圈裏邊都識得亦都有一大部分。咁究竟佢哋有冇做一個好啲嘅嘢，就係話喂，同翻北京講，喂，依家啲治港者唔應該係咁，佢係咪講緊？喂，呢個係咪真係習近平想做嘅嘢咧？就係話，喂，係咪做到凡事左3分已經左到太離譜咧？咁呢啲嘢我就會覺得值得探討。咁同埋我哋搞咗2次世界香港論壇啦，咁第3次我同多倫多啲朋友講話，喂，不如我哋組隊組架飛機團啦，翻去連埋美國、英國、台灣嗰啲攞啲 business contract， 上次都係咁講，上年4月咁喂，有咁多訂單係咪即係拉晒我哋咧？即係呢個半講笑咁講，就係咪拉埋啲蕭美琴？蕭美琴係制裁緊㗎嘛？咁依家將會係副總統，咁即係香港特區政府係咪要將香港成個徹底嘅去消滅之後，然後先至可以重生咧？定係去到即係呢啲咁嘅時刻，就係話呢啲俾美國政府制裁緊嘅官員，講緊係特朗普政府，其實佢哋係咪即係喺個社會，即係喺呢個歷史嘅洪流當中，係做咗啲十分之嚴重嘅錯事？即係我會咁諗咯。依家你喺度審嚟審去嘅嘢，你基本上你照張劍虹好，或者遲啲陳貝敏好，我唔知啊。 你基本上就係你想煮死啊黎生，咁做一個真一個 case 係話喂我哋好犀利㗎呢個 NSL， 我就唔覺得應該係咁嘅，應該就係話去翻李家超係有個特赦嘅權力，亦都呢個係一個政治事件，應該用政治去解決。咁係咩咧？會唔會好似孟晚舟咁去有啲嘢去交換咧？好似嗰兩個 Michael 咁，即係我本書當然咧就係話係一個渠道啦，去再去唔同嘅地方去講究竟香港舊時我哋係點樣做金融。但係依家講緊香港啲基金經理去咩咧？就去新加坡度 set up， 或者去翻英國啊、加拿大、美國啊，即係呢個係絕對唔健康嘅嘢嚟嘅。
我記得上次訪問許智峰嘅時候啦，即係佢話其實每一個人都分陣營立場、身份喺呢幾年都一定有唔同嘅，即係叫不便同埋代價。正如李家超去唔到美國啊，咁正如有啲人我知某啲人有政協，跟住嚟到台灣啦，其實佢真係嚟旅行嘅啫，可能冇任何身份同埋任務。咁但係即係呢個時代就係咁嘅，即係幾時先可以復原咧？我哋未睇到個終點。但係起碼我諗就翻去翻呢本書嗰度啦，即係都係一個好好嘅見證嚟嘅。平時香港人經常都會諗金融嘅人好務實啦，好成日睇錢啦。咁但係其實都走咗唔少金融界嘅朋友。咁要了解佢哋嘅心路歷程同呢件嘅改變啦，我諗作為一個當事人嘅分享，或者係 insider 嘅分享，即係錢生呢本書就都值得我哋喺呢個時代一齊參考。
係啦，咁完咗呢個直播之後咧，就有朋友咁佢想 set up 一個對沖基金咁嚟呢度傾，咁都係講都係 unfortunately 都係講緊喺新加坡點樣 set up， 即係呢個亦都係我係慨嘆嘅地方，就唔係話喺香港度 set up 咁即係香港個價值係咩咧？本來就係同內地唔同，咁好不幸地就係話依家呢樣嘢就變咗，咁唯有睇下繼續演進成點啦。我好希望Simon真係可以一日翻香港，我哋係到唔知第幾屆嘅世界香港論壇，即係組隊翻去，可以成組翻去，直翻個團結香港基金係咪？係真香港基金。
我哋今日屋企有朋友想分享。請說，隨便。
I know Edward is the expert of finance, and we also know right now is the worst time and maybe the best time because it's a dramatically changing time. So we would like to listen to your opinion about the future. What kind of is there any dramatic financial change in the near future?
For Hong Kong?
For the world.
Moving forward, I think, first of all, the dismantling process will continue. The confidence for Hong Kong people living in Hong Kong is going to get worse. Definitely, traditional funds they are selling. That's why you see the Hang Seng Index hovered at around the 15,000 level right now, versus the peak was like at 32,000. And then the Taiwan Jiaquan Zhisao, right? It's at the all-time high right now. So there's a big contrast. In terms of living in Hong Kong, people aspire to be in finance. But now the finance jobs are pretty much taken over by mainlanders. If you're into corporate finance, investment banking, and all that, you need the so-called connection. But even mainland China is in big mess right now. So what's really holding up right now, I think it's the U.S. If you talk about the market, close to all-time high, even though the interest rate hike might stop this year. We don't know. We follow what happened with the Fed announcement. But as far as Hong Kong goes, I don't see the point of going there without risk carrying. Actually, used to be like a free place and also a dynamic international financial center. I don't see that happening. right now. So for those who are like traveling to Asia, maybe the route would be first Taiwan and then Thailand and then Japan if they go to like a North Asia, and then if they want to go to South Asia, Singapore, and then Malaysia and Indonesia. So this is my 2 cents, so to speak. But definitely if you are concerned about personal risk, I would skip Hong Kong altogether. But then I was talking with Simon. Maybe those who are active in democracy and all that, if they could bring in like business contracts, let's say you got a $1 billion deal, from UK, US, and Canada, Taiwan, and whatnot, and organize a World Hong Kong Forum, like the third one, right? Just like the WEF, World Economic Forum. Then maybe they would look at it differently, or maybe we will all get arrested. So because Hong Kong is so unpredictable right now, which is very sad, a sad case story, a sad business case, the dismantling process. So this is how I would summarize today's broadcast.
其他的问題還有沒有其他的要分享？Any other questions？
那就繼續。就是我們都知道，說我們97的時候，大家在香港的時候是很開心嘛，然後但是98的時候，很快就是亞洲的金融危機就發現了，然後08、18其實那個股市大概都有很大的那個劇烈的下行，然後很快的2028也要到，你會覺得說會有一個很強烈的，就像是亞洲金融危機這樣的狀況，結構系統性的崩盤嗎？
結構性系統性。
Because all we know that 1998 we have a
Asian financial crisis, yes.
And 2008, 2018 we also have a stock market crash. So it's very soon that the 2028 will be coming. So do you think there will be a systematic financial crisis coming? Like
a contagion of sorts, right? Now, maybe Simon can jump in later. Like from a finance perspective, what happened, for instance, in 2008, the Lehman crisis? It's subprime, right? And then like a one bank collapse that leads into the U.S. government has to rescue, for instance, an AIG and whatnot, and then Citibank, was in big trouble. But the so-called contagion didn't spread out. Of course, we have these Lehman bonds as well that sold in Hong Kong, and then even Iceland was affected. But like for Hong Kong, since this book is nothing about anything like a Lehman type of a crisis, it's more about the path to true freedom. It's a hedge fund manager's memoir on the dismantling of Hong Kong. But this is out of this book's context. But to give you a short answer, I think the U.S. Banking system is still very intact. But Hong Kong, if you just focus on Hong Kong, it is definitely a confidence issue, and also the mainland. It's in big trouble. So the so-called like the penny stocks in the U.S. There isn't really much trading activity in the venture exchange. I don't know the exact term for Hong Kong. In Canada, it's called the venture exchange. The Gen board, right? There isn't really much activity at all. So I would say I will disregard Hong Kong completely from a trading and from an investing perspective. Yeah. There's inherent risk involved. But Simon, what's your take on that?
我不是这一方面的专家，我想再简单补充一下，在这几年很多香港的朋友他会发现了香港从前的自由港的身份不再存在， 然后就把从前的公司也好fund management 也好，都搬去别的国家、别的地方。我就觉得这是一个刚才你说的结构性的、系统性的一个改变。可是到了现在，应该还有一些外国的公司还会觉得香港是走进去中国大陆的一个平台。所以在这一方面，就是说，香港从前它的所谓的利用价值是一个窗口，可是现在你要走进去中国大陆，可能去上海还要方便。也要跟外国打交道，当然是新加坡还要好很多。香港最后的利用价值在哪里？很多人现在都打不出来，包括香港的官员，我相信心里面他们也会很难打出来。所以我们当然不希望作为香港人，不希望有这样子的结构永远存在，因为香港就没有价值。可是现在香港政府的方向大概就走向它是我们比较悲观的预期。我觉得。
我比较不好意思，是因为书名是对冲 hedging。所以，然后我就知道那个钱先生的专业是金融，所以我就趁机请教他的意见。然后那个香港就我个人来讲，最重要的价值在人，就是那个曾经就是观察媒的总编辑，他是李志德先生曾经说过，香港是他见过就是华人社会里面呢，就是最文明的一群人。就是结合了西方英国的法治精神，又能够理解华人的做人做事的方式，所以在这个方面，你们的价值是到今天为止是走在华人世界的尖端的。然后你们现在流散到各地去，我相信一定会对各个地方带来很大的贡献。
To me, as a market participant, we were saying it in Cantonese that. Just now, there's a fund manager friend who just landed Taipei, and I'm meeting him in a few hours. The discussion is how to set up a fund in Singapore. Now, because money is very fluid, and then those who are, let's say, the ultra high net worth ones, they will have private bankers to take care of the massive wealth. But at the same time, like parking the money in Hong Kong, when you have this NSL, National Security Law, and even like living in Hong Kong, it's a big concern. So offshoring your assets to be in a safer haven. So definitely it's a continuing theme, so to speak. So 2024, Taiwan just finished the election with Lai Ching-te and then Siu Mei-kam, right? I say it in Cantonese. With the CCP attack Taiwan, and some people say if this is the catalyst, there will be hope for Hong Kong, right? This is the trigger point, but we don't know. But from an asset management standpoint, definitely. Parking the assets in a safer place outside of Hong Kong. It's something in a lot of people's mind right now. Yeah, definitely.
From the pretext of your book, The Path to True Freedom, can I just acknowledge that you are indicating that to rejuvenate the pre-national security law status of Hong Kong?
Well, a lot of people say just abolish this. Like this is beyond ridiculous, having this NSL to be enacted. I remember there was a legislator. This is the final thing. Maybe we can touch on Simon. There is a legislator named Chen Man-gei, right? Back in 2020, middle of May, she was saying, "Hey, we should take into this NSL thing," and then in 6 weeks, it became effective, right? It takes about just 6 weeks.
That honorable lady at that time was not even legislator.
Oh, really?
Now she is.
Okay. Yeah. So it's well, I say beyond ridiculous to see how quickly this evil so-called law is passed, and then everyone suffers. But then I hope if Xi Jinping, last but not least, can really hear the voice of Hong Kong people. Let's do a 360 dialogue. Let's do what I call a town hall meeting and meet face to face with people from Hong Kong and those living outside of Hong Kong. Just like what you have in democratic Taiwan, right? So I hope free Hong Kong will come someday.
So maybe we can talk about that after the discussion, right? Okay, because this is a live broadcasting, and is always known in the internet world as the last supporter one country two system. And I think he still is.
No, not just me, Lau Mong Hong as well. we are, strong advocate of that. But then, this is different from Deng Xiaoping's model.
Right. So 如果大家有興趣買呢本書啦，咁我哋有條 link 啦，我哋可以喺網站嗰度買到啦，喺自由世界去買到啦，有緣嘅朋友會喺香港買到嘅。
同埋喺World War Wu 嘅咖啡店係咪？
我係台灣有幾個即係實體嘅地方都可以買到啦。咁當翻到加拿大嘅時候，咁當地朋友應該都可以見到。咁我諗書都係一個中介嚟嘅，思想係冇疆界嘅。咁我哋今次先討論呢度，希望下次有咗喺下一本新書嘅時候，我哋再傾。係
啦，個三部曲第一本啊，希望繼續努力。
唔該晒 ，thanks for 支持。
Thank you。